This is the first in a series of screencasts on workflow. And workflow is how you approach each image, and it should be a same set of logical sequence of decisions that you make along the line. And what we're going to look at in this series is looking at each step as we go along here. And then you can deviate from that once you kind of get a handle. I mean, you're not going to do every step every single time. You know, some images may not need everything that's in here, but you want to ask yourself that question. Does it need this kind of adjustment or enhancement or not? And if it doesn't, move on to the next step. If it does, then fix it, work on it, and get that done, and then move on to the next step. Okay, but it's a sequence that you need to follow, so you're not just kind of jumbling all over the place and not knowing how to start an approach of an image. Okay, so I have an image open here, and there's my layers that your image will soon look like this at some point. And again, if you don't see your layers palette, just go up to Window and click on Layers so you see that. Okay. Now, the way it's kind of constructed is that you do global changes first. And you can see I have a folder here that I call Global. And here are the global enhancements or adjustments that I made to this image. So that includes a layer that's major retouching, where this is where you take care of dust spots or any kind of cropping. Anything that just needs to be cleaned up before you actually start working on the image. Then we're going to start looking at contrast, setting black and white points. You can also set contrast with curves, and you have that as a technical exercise. So you can apply that as well or add to it again if your image needs that. Color correction, saturation, and global balance, color balance are all global. And that means it affects the entire image. That's why you want to work on them first. Because if you start looking at specific areas of the image and then go back and change something overall, that's going to affect that area that you just fixed. So you want to fix everything that, or you want to make adjustments or enhancements to everything that affects the entire image first, and then move into smaller and smaller areas. So you have a global piece right here, and then you're going to go to regional. And regional or local is where you're going to start looking at specific areas that might need a little more attention. And in sequence, you want to first look at areas that need to be lightened or darkened. And then you want to look at areas that you want to make a little warmer or a little cooler, color cast. I've got an update. Oh, here we go. Okay, get rid of that. Then you want to look at areas that might have a little too much saturation or not enough saturation, where you can saturate and desaturate. Then there's an adjustment or enhancement called midtone contrast. You want to do that at this point because it doesn't affect everything in the image, but it affects all the midtones in the image. Then you start looking at areas that need more specific work. And in this case, the peaks needed some work. You can see I made them a little more contrasty. And the sky needed to be evened out. You can see that it's a little brighter on the left than the right, so I wanted to even that out, so I did that. Now, these set of adjustments are called luminosity masks, and this is what you'll be doing in 151. So 151 group, you're going to be working on all of this, and you're going to be adding these into your workflow. 150, once we get up around here, using these kinds of masks to make adjustments, we'll leave it at that and move on to the last part here, which is outputting. And this is where you're going to size it and soft proof it for the substrate that you're going to print to or where it's going. So, if it's web, if it's going to paper, if it's going to canvas, if it's going to watercolor paper, if it's going to metal, whatever, you typically need to make some specific adjustments for that particular output. So this is where those come in, and then finally you're going to sharpen. And that's when you know the size of the image, you're going to sharpen it, because sharpening is dependent on the size of the image. So those are the steps. So you should have a setup that looks like this, and then when you click on those, you'll see those particular adjustments being made. So, and let's move on and look at the next screencast, which will look at major retouching.